Fanfic Corner, presented by Jennifer. The Midnight Compass, Chapter 7, Aching, Part 4. Okay, if you have not yet seen the first few videos for The Midnight Compass, I suggest you go view those now, as this is a continuation of that story. Marinosis was a much larger town than Calderon. In fact, it was almost a city in size, extending out and around the stretch of a huge, sprawling, rich blue lake and river. It was a lot more vertical, too. Built upon large hills, the roads wound around and up them in steep slopes and staircases, buildings towering up around them. But it didn't quite feel imposing. It was a little like a seaside town. Even from where they stood, the port was visible. And it was immense in size. Several large vessels docked in the harbor. The streets were lit up with color. Bunting dangling from the buildings, colorful marquees set up in the road, and the town was so alive and bright and full of wonder. Just like Callum was at that moment. Rayla didn't really want to admit it to herself, but seeing Callum so abundantly excited as he took it all in filled her with a warmth that chased away her worries about their well-being in that moment. Maybe he was right. Maybe this place was safe. Rayla, we should look around. And, blend in. He grinned. Rayla laughed. You just want an excuse to play games and explore the festival. What? No, look at me, Rayla. Look how super focused I am right now. This is for investigation purposes and surveillance. He was trying to hide the little mischievous spark, but she could see it in the smile of his eyes and lips, and she rolled her eyes. One day of festivals, and I'm only saying that because I am too exhausted to argue with you. Right, it'll be good for us. His face went warmer now, and he took her hand in both of his now, brushing his thumb against her fingers. We need some recovery time after what happened, right? We can have a nice fun day out, this time without worrying so much. Maybe we can just be ordinary kids for a day. Was something like that even possible? His eyes seemed to think so. Her fingers had curled around his without her noticing, and something fluttered in her heart. Okay, you know what? You're right. She gave his hand a squeeze and shot him a little determined smile. Besides, it's your first festival in Xadia, right? We might as well make it a memorable one. There were additional benefits to this plan too. In a large crowd, it would be harder to track them. With so many eyes about, the chances of them getting attacked would be lowered. And within the crowd, the pair stood out far less, especially now with Callum's new disguise. They could walk about far more freely. Rayla chided herself mentally for not being able to switch off the methodical part of her brain. You're just a regular kid today, Rayla. Now, what do regular kids do again? She was sure that she was about to find out when she felt Callum tug her forward, overjoyed, laughing over his shoulder. Her own laughs joined in his chortles as they walked. It was almost jarring, the sudden mood shift. It felt strange that only yesterday they had been bandaging her wounds as best they could. Their moods left bleak from their run-in with the hunter. But now it was almost as though it hadn't happened. Almost. If it hadn't been for the dull ringing of her shoulder, the stinging of her cuts, and the aches of her weary muscles, Callum wasn't doing it too amazing either, as much as he tried to gloss it over. Every so often, as they wandered about, she watched his face fall and twitch in pain a little, his hands glancing around his ribs. It was a painful reminder of what had happened, that despite the joyous atmosphere and his reassuring words, they were still both hurting physically and emotionally. You okay? She whispered gently as they huddled together slightly under one of the colorful gazebos to admire its contents. Oh yeah, I'm fine. Just sore still. Every so often I kind of forget, and then my ribs are like, hey, you remember us? It's a little annoying. But I'll be fine, he added hastily when he caught the look in her eye. I think I got off a lot more lightly than you did. It did little to ease her concerns. After things have calmed down, we'll both get looked at by a healer, okay? Sounds good. He smiled, then she found his hand in hers again. But it felt different than before. Less casual, more intimate and tender, as Callum's palm brushed slowly against hers. His fingers traced up her own and lingered before filling the gaps between them with his own. The gesture seemed to whisper to her, I'm here. And we're both hurting, but I've got you. We'll take care of each other. It made her hand, or perhaps even her whole arm, tingle a little. All right then, so where do you want to go first? Rayla let Callum tug her around, excitedly taking in the colorful maypoles with their skywing dancers, gracefully gliding through the air. The bright banners with intricate artwork patched onto them, telling stories of old. The food stalls selling various pastries and small bowls of food Callum had never seen before, prepared into colorful dishes. Spices hung from the gazebo rafters, sending delicious scents wafting through the air. She smiled as Callum asked her questions, all between him stuffing his face with Xadian waffles on a stick, as he called it, and sneaking a bit to a hungry little dragon poking his snout out of his bow. What's this? What's that? Why? She answered as best she could, though she had never really been to the Sky Festival before, so her knowledge on the matter was somewhat limited to what she had heard in passing from people who had been. She explained how the Sky Festival was a celebration of peace, unity, and freedom, in that it was founded by a skywing elf called Varus about 300 years ago to try and lift the spirits of all elves alike in the bleak time of war. It was known as the Sky Festival, but really it was one celebrated by everyone. Callum was hooked by the history of the festival. Peace, unity, that was what they were all about, right? And it was endearing to watch his spirits lift and hope fill his heart once more. Throw a knife in through the hoop, win a prize. Callum's elven ears perked up at that, and he blinked across at a stall run by a Sunfire elf, calling out cheerfully while waving several knives in the air. He grinned back at Rayla, his eyes alight with excitement. She stifled a laugh. Oh no, it was that face, and she knew exactly what he was thinking. I'm going to try and win you a prize. Just watch me. Go on then. His smile only widened, and he pulled her over with him, taking 3 wooden toy knives from the vendor. Thankfully, thought Rayla, she had the utmost faith in Callum, but was also well aware of his chances of missing completely and hurting someone. She watched him, his mind whirling and calculating, feeling the knife's weight, squinting at his target, figuring out distance, the power he needed to throw them, and then he missed. Completely. It sailed meters over the top of the hoop and landed with a dull thunk against the wooden back wall of the stand. She stifled a laugh, and he frowned at her. I did that on purpose. It was a practice shot, okay? All right, she chuckled, waving at him to carry on. Please continue. He tried again. And to his defense, he did get a little closer this time, glancing just past the left of the hoop. Last chance, kid, the vendor chimed, and Rayla watched Callum tense, his eyes focused on the hoop. You've got this. She smiled and gave him a little thumbs up. It seemed to give him a little more encouragement. And then she anticipated. And his eyes softened enough for him to crack a quick smile at her before focusing and throwing his last knife. With a gentle ringing clang, it hit the metal of the hoop, and both Callum and Rayla groaned in disappointment. So close. I'm sorry, Rayla. It's fine. You gave it your best shot. She watched as the vendor collected the knives, and Callum's shoulders sank a little despite her words. But a small smile found her lips, and she raised her arm a little. Hey, can I have a go? The vendor's eyes flicked with concern to Rayla's broken arm, but she gave him a little wave with her other. It's all right. I have another one. If you're sure. Tentatively, the Sunfire elf handed over the knives, and she grinned and gave a little wink at Callum. The boy's eyes widened a little, and his feathers fluffed up ever so slightly, and it only boosted her ego further. Twip, twip, twip. In rapid succession, her knives whizzed straight through the middle of the metal hoop. The last one, in overconfident fashion, found its mark without her even looking. Her eyes locked on the vendor's awe-stricken face. Oh, wow. You only get 1 knife throw, but good job. From her side, she watched Callum huff a little, his arms folded. Show off. He pouted, but he couldn't hide the proud smile in his eyes. I might be, but I'm the show-off that just won you a prize, so you're welcome. Pick something you like. Preferably something small. We need to travel late. His ears drooped a little. But I wanted to win you something. She laughed softly, giving him a half shrug. Maybe next time? Callum looked a little dejected, but gave her a grateful nod, and she watched as he picked out a little bracelet, leather in white, dark blue, and light blue woven together neatly with a little brass buckle embossed with the sky symbol on it. He looked pleased, and at first tried to tie it around Rayla's wrist, but she wouldn't let him. insisting that he wear it since she won it for him, not her. Reluctantly, he gave in and tied it around his own wrist, admiring it with a small smile. "Thanks, Ray." Her face and heart softened, but as she opened her mouth to reply, she watched his eyes go wide and he gawked, staring at something just past her shoulder. She turned around and... oh. Her face soon matched the awe of Callum's, and something began to approach slowly from the sky, its humongous form leaving a shadow over the lake of the town. It was strange how silent it was as it moved. Surely such a thing could cause the earth to tremble below. But no, it was quite tranquil. An island. A giant, floating, beautiful island, gliding gracefully towards the town. And it was lowering slowly as it arrived, hovering over the reflective surface of the lake. It soon became apparent what was sitting on top of it. A huge monastery, the likes of which neither of them had ever seen before. Carved white marble like stone.
I don't have that info for Sterling Heights, Michigan, but Sterling Heights is part of Macomb County, which I do have information for. Macomb County's record high temperature is 106 degrees Fahrenheit, occurring on...
Marble like stone reached up into the sky. Rayla recognized it instantly from the story she had been told, and a realization dawned on her. How had she not remembered this sooner? "Rayla, what is that?" Callum breathed, his eyes never leaving the sight before them. "That would be the highlight of the festival. And you know what? It's almost certainly what we're here for, Callum. That's the Labrys Sky Temple. It's the Sky Nexus."